As much as I love the outdoors and pretty much all of its related interests, I feel that there are a few things I need to do before I can rightfully think of myself as an outdoorsman. And the most daunting of all of those things, the one that I've been putting off for the longest amount of time, is to spend a night alone in the woods. I spent nights alone in the mountains and on the coast. It's never really bothered me that much. But the woods seems like a new frontier. Now, I've spent nights in the woods, but it's always been with friends, with company. And even then, when darkness comes, the atmosphere of the night is tainted with a certain eerie quality. And I've given myself chills by staring a little too long at the black spaces between the tree trunks. The woods are beautiful.
It's beautiful.
The few forests we have here in Britain are amazing, they're enchanting, they feel magical. But darkness has a really strange way of twisting things, and in the black of the night, the woods aren't so beautiful as much as they are creepy.
So it's been on my to-do list for quite a while. I've come out to the woods with no one else, and if all goes to plan, this will be the first of many, hopefully, nights alone in the woods. I'm really excited. Really scared, really excited. Okay, this is a nice spot. It's not too Blair Witch Project-esque, and I've got two nicely spaced trees there for a tarp. So yeah, I'm gonna get set up. Bowline and bowline, one of Henry VIII's many wives. Now I'm going to do a taut line hitch to get this line nice and taut. Don't think I'm showing off with these knots. I literally had to Google this morning. I've never tied one of these before. Right. Hey, let's learn together. You watching? Right. Take the working end over the top. Get it nice and tight. Round on the inside of that line once, round again once, twice I suppose. Between these two we want to go round once again and then put the rope through there. Pull that tight. That's a taut line hitch. The reason it's a taut line hitch is because you can adjust that. And the rope goes taut. Can't get much tauter than that. So continuing the theme of things I've never tried before, I would usually be sleeping in a hammock, but I quite like the idea of being out free. I think it'll kind of psychologically ease my mind a bit because I'm not confined to a zipped up hammock. So I'm just going to sleep on the floor, get a tarp set up, which I'm completely improvising right now, and yeah, see how that goes. It's not pretty. It's not even mildly attractive, but it'll do. So I actually came out here last week, same time last week. I had everything set up, had the tarp set up, and then I could not, for the life of me, get a fire started. And basically I was rushing. It was getting dark. I didn't prepare enough kindling, and I was rushing through it. So I ended up having to pack up and leave in the dark. So today I'm going to take some time to collect a lot of good stuff and hopefully get a good fire going. That's what you want. A nice snap means it's dead and dry. Right, let's try this then, shall we? Okay, the flint and steel is terrible. I wanted to do it properly, but I guess even a flint and steel is technically a way of cheating, so.
It took me ages to get the fire started, even with all of the cheating methods in the world. And to think our ancestors used to do this with nothing but friction and a bit of dry wood really had me questioning my skills. But after enough time, the fire did take.
Okay, I think we're getting somewhere. He says for the millionth time. Woo!
With everything set up and the fire roaring away, I was starting to feel very comfortable.
I'm happy.
But when night falls, the forest takes upon itself a very different presence. And every time I looked up into the blackness that lay beyond the fire, I had to stop myself from thinking about whether there could be something out there looking back. As a writer once famously said, when you gaze into the abyss gazes also into you.
Fire's going well. So I just wanted to talk about fear for a second. One of the reasons I struggle to believe I could ever do something like this is because I've always had a very overactive imagination. My fears are always irrational, kind of nonsensical. I remember I once had to watch a horror film at school. I was about 16 years old. And for the whole duration of the film, I lay on my desk so that I could hold a pencil right in front of the TV screen, so that to everyone around me it looked like I was watching the film, but I couldn't actually see what was going on. During the week, when I woke up in the middle of the night and I thought, on Friday I'm going to be going out and camping in the woods, I kind of think to myself, there's no way I can do that. There's no way I'm going to be able to do that. But I think the thing is, I think fear, I mean, obviously we have fear for a reason. It stops us from taking unnecessary risks. It's a survival advantage. I think because we live in such a comfortable age when almost everything's taken care of, we don't really have many real fears. You know, we fear things, you know, we might fear economic stress and illness and that sort of thing, but we don't have many present fears. In this day and age, we tend to fill the space that was once filled with rational fears like lack of shelter or lack of food. It seems like we fill that space with made up things because we need the fear, and we're lacking something to be afraid of. So it's so weird that when I'm at home, the things I'm scared of are typical, stereotypical, kind of fictional fears. Those are the things that play on my mind, and yet out here in the woods, perhaps the most stereotypically scary environment you could be in. I am on edge because I'm not at home, but the only things I've been scared of tonight are, am I going to be able to keep this fire going? What if it rains and I get wet? And it's weird how you kind of, when you put yourself back into a primal situation, as it were, you revert back to those primal fears, and everything else is sort of insignificant, doesn't really matter. So yeah, I just thought, in case there's anyone else who doubts that they could perhaps do something like this on account of an overactive imagination, which I certainly am, it might not be the case. You might be more capable than you thought.
With this in mind, the forest was actually a much more peaceful place than I expected. Yeah, it was creepy, and there were moments I questioned whether I should leave. But even in the dark of the winter night, the woods maintained a bit of their magic. The air was filled with the sound of owls hooting at one another, and above me was a blanket of stars, clear on that crisp, cold night. And the dread that seemed to dwell in the blackness beyond the fire wasn't as terrifying as the flames on the tree trunks from the fire were hypnotic and tranquil. And it was a much more calming experience than I thought it would be.
Right. Let's do some cooking. This is my cooking stick. All the professionals have one. Oh man, it's warm here. Flipping it. Knees are burning. Right, that should be fine. Oh dear. That is not a happy burger. And neither is that. Oh well, I suppose. One semi-stale bun. I should have bought more buns. Looks cooked to me. Saying that, oh no. Saying that, I have had food poisoning about 7 times in my life, so maybe I shouldn't just rely on my better judgment. I don't know. Right, this isn't. This is not going to fill me up. Kind of. Oh, it's good. Right, let's get the shoes off. So it's meant to get down to about -3 tonight. I'm going to be cold. So I'm sleeping with my coat on tonight. Alright then. Oh, I've got the sleeping bag the wrong way around. Okay. Oh my lord. There's the hood. Where the hood at, man? Good night. Hopefully see you in the morning. Right, I'm off. Good night.
I don't know if you can see that or not. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. So I made it through without going home. So I actually felt really at peace last night watching the fire from my bed. I didn't feel anxious or on edge at all, just completely happy. The only problem was the cold. I've probably had about 3 hours sleep in 1.5 hour chunks just because it's been so cold. Could have done with putting the fire closer to me really, but apart from that, actually quite an enjoyable experience, and I'm actually very proud of myself that I've that I pushed past the fear and that I've actually done it. It's moments like these that are what's enjoyable about camping. Camping is a lot of misery, even as someone who enjoys it. But there's moments when you're sat by the fire and it's roaring, or you're making food. It makes it all okay. I'm actually really quite impressed with myself that I did it. First time in the woods alone, first time with this sort of tarp setup, and I didn't bail, even though I certainly could have quite easily, and I'm still alive. Probably feel the worst I've ever felt in my life, but on the other hand, I've got bacon. Slender Man himself could come walking up to me right now, and I think I'd probably be a bigger risk to him than he would be to me, because I am so shattered. And if some fiend, some ghoul, some cryptoid wants to mess with me at this time in the morning, bro, he's gonna have to watch his back. I'm not in the mood. And so I'd done what I'd set out to do. Everything's frozen. This was a milestone I'd been intending to pass for quite some time, and as embarrassing as it is, it's one that I've been putting off for quite a while, purely out of fear. And it might not seem like a great deal to many people. Some people are of the disposition where they could just go and do something like this, and it wouldn't bother them at all. But this was mostly a test of will, not just the fear, but the cold and the physical challenge. It was a test that I could now say I'd passed. All those fears that were preventing me from thinking that this was possible now just seemed irrelevant and in the past. That's it. Let's go home. It really is true, but the only thing to fear is fear itself. And the axe murderers. Now, if I were a real woodsman, I'd be cutting up this fine fungi and throwing it in a pan, but I have no idea what this is, so I'm going to leave it. Looks cool though. Huh. Surprisingly solid.